Hello and welcome, my friends and viewers, to this week's episode of Legendlore, where I draw and talk about monsters, characters, gods, and other things from D&D 5th edition, all while giving a small but quickly digestible history about them. Together we'll go over their origins within the game, how they're utilized in the modern edition, and how you guys can utilize them in your own games. This week we'll finally be delving into one of the largest big bads of D&D, the powerful Archlich, Zulkir of Necromancy, and undead tyrant ruler of the arcane nation of Thay, Szass Tam. Getting right into it, Szass Tam was a powerful wizard and member of the Zulkirs, the ruling class of Red Wizard within the Magocratic nation of Thay, within the Forgotten Realms campaign setting. Appearance-wise, Szass Tam was about 6 feet tall with sharp features such as high cheekbones and a hawkish nose, originally having dark eyes, thin black hair, and a wispy beard before it all fell to the rot of his necromantic lichdom. His deathlessness didn't really do anything to ruin his sense of fashion, however, often wearing the titular crimson robes of Thayan wizards edged with gold and gemstones, as well as wielding a black staff and teetering back and forth between recreating his living form with illusions or wearing his lichdom proudly. While he was already an accomplished and almost legendary wizard in his own right, lichdom made Szass Tam a monstrously more formidable entity. His undeath offered him immunity to cold, electricity, polymorphic abilities, and mind-affecting or death magic, as well as the more common mortal ailments of sleep, disease, poison, stunning, and paralysis. He also bared dark vision, could heal through the consumption of negative energy, could paralyze a victim with just a touch, and was shrouded in an aura of oppressive fear-inducing magic. And those are just his natural non-wizard abilities. As a necromancer, Szass Tam could conjure powerful spells and raise and control droves of weak and powerful undead, ranging from legions of common zombies and skeletons to powerful death knights and possibly even the dreaded Nightwalkers. Better still, he was also trained in the use of staves, daggers, and darts in martial combat, and was educated on topics such as ancient history, astrology, engineering, gem cutting, naval navigation, and even herbalism, as well as reading and speaking the Abyssal, Draconic, Elven, Infernal, and Mulhorundy languages. Equipment-wise, his age and status offered Szass Tam impossible wealth and access to a vault's worth of powerful magic items, the most notable ones being a Wand of Whips, a Ring of 3 Wishes, the Death Moon Orb, the Corzil Seat, and of course, the Horn of Beckoning Death. On his person, however, he often wore the Zulkir's Dreadnought robe, as well as bracers of defense, a Hand of Glory, rings of protection and spell storing, and his ebony staff, along with something called a Dark Skull, which was capable of combating the Hallow spell and allowing the undead Zulkir to go as he pleased. Szass Tam is also credited with the creation of undead monsters known as Bone Claws, used to protect Thayan enclaves across the land while making use of the remnants of a failed lichdom ritual. Whether or not this is true is completely up to you, as it's just a rumor. In terms of his personality, Szass Tam was a master manipulator and strategist, keeping himself distant from his plans and working from the shadows through various agents, servants, and undead minions. Known to bear a legendary patience because of his lichdom, Tam was quick to abandon pursuits and leave his agents to fall and die should their efforts be for naught, using the experience to fine-tune his future plans and work on alternate approaches that would not suffer the same problems as the last. That said, his favorite servants were treated with kindness and civility, and he conducted himself with a politician's sophisticated politeness, speaking plainly, directly, and without pomp or wasteful words. I guess this means that he has a particularly high charisma. While his wrath is not easily awoken, the rage of Szass Tam was cold and brutal, though he did show immense respect for those who thought to stand against him, even more so if they actually managed to successfully foil his plans and present themselves to be a genuine challenge. It showed that he took others seriously regardless of whether or not he could wipe them away with a snap of his fingers. And a person who treats any threat, no matter how small, as a serious one, is not someone to be taken lightly. Szass Tam was also known to not have any distinct worship of a god, but he did venerate the actions of some, such as the bloody crusade of gods conducted by the mad deity Cyric, for example. Furthermore, Szass Tam was also known to go by the moniker Tarloth Narmander, through which he would sponsor adventuring companies to acquire enchanted items for him, without them ever knowing his true identity or purpose. Beyond that, other notable occurrences in Szass Tam's history include assassinating the previous Zulkir of Necromancy, leading an invasion against the Rashaman tribes and the nation of Algorand, feuding with another lich by the name of Thaverdaz, binding the demon lord Eltab to his service, and of course, using the Horn of Beckoning Death to gain almost absolute control within the land of Thay. In terms of Szass Tam's relationships with other people, he was known for allying with other liches and undead creatures and organizations, such as the former Mistran Chosen Larlock the Shadow King and the Cult of Asmodeus. While most people like to think of liches as isolated hermits with undead to conduct all of their mundane work, Szass Tam did actually have a favored living chambermaid by the name of Charmaine, whose competence and wit he enjoyed enough to consider imbuing her with the immortality of undeath. Her murder at the hands of a fledgling vampire left Szass very torn, refusing to damn her to a meager existence as a low-level undead such as a ghoul or a zombie, and ultimately choosing to allow her soul to rest. Szass Tam was also known for taking apprentices to teach his magic to, despite his ambition and fierce defense of his title of Zolkir of Necromancy. Some notable ones include Gweltaz, who attempted to usurp his position and was killed, Frodine, a distinct favorite of Tam's had it not been for her arrogance and hubris, and finally, Sophina, his most devout servant who served under him for almost 3 centuries, and stood at the head of a plan to usurp control over Neverwinter, as seen in Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves. He was also believed to have several other attractions despite his undeath, the first being Thazian Uskevrin, a thief who he intended to share his lichdom with had she not been morally opposed to the rampant slavery within Thay. The second was another apprentice of his by the name of Undamora, whom he desired as a consort and whose death elicited a historic rage from Tam, mostly due to the fact that there was nothing left of her body for him to resurrect. In terms of his enemies, besides any and all good aligned adventurers, Szass Tam was known to feud with the other Zolkirs of Thay before his takeover, such as the Zolkir of alteration magic, Malagor, and the once necromancer turned god of evil liches, Velsharun. Tam also made a distinct enemy of the deity Lyra, the goddess of deception and illusions, but I couldn't find a reason for it through my research, so I can only assume that it is largely unknown. Now when it comes to role-playing Szass Tam at the table, he's the classic shadowy mastermind who's behind many, if not all, of the plans that the heroic PCs battle against and foil. He's cunning, quiet, sophisticated, and most of all, looming. His presence should always overshadow the players even in their victories, his name given in whispers of fear and hushed tones. He should also never be encountered directly unless the players have reached high enough level, or they have pissed him off royally enough for him to take matters into his own hands. When he is face-to-face with the players via a scrying orb or a giant scary hologram a la Star Wars, he should be, as I said before, calm, polite, calculated, and distinguished in his presentation despite the stories about him. He actively avoids cutting the image of the warmongering, sadistic ruler in favor of a nobleman who commands respect and interest, and his meeting with the PCs never has to devolve into threats or ominous vague warnings. If he feels that the players are genuinely skilled, he can attempt to try and bring them into his employ by promising them whatever it is that they wish, so long as it's within his power to do. And as a powerful necromancer lich with a lot of money, he probably can do a lot for them. Players with sick loved ones, poverty issues, or designs of growing their own power and influence will be especially vulnerable to such promises, and he can even actively meet one of these requests outright as a gesture of honest intent. Whether or not this is just a ruse for him to betray the players later on, that's up to you as a dungeon master. The primary inspirations for my depiction of Szass Tam are his actual appearance in Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves, as well as Tywin Lannister from Game of Thrones, Emperor Palpatine from Star Wars, and Slade from Teen Titans. Especially if the party ends up getting into combat with him, he breaks out some serious skills with the staff. Now in terms of running Szass Tam in combat, unless your campaign is centered around something like the liberation of Thay, or an all-cleric and paladin crusade against the undead, I would not recommend using Szass Tam directly. His sheer power level, number of magic items, and cunning strategist ways puts him far out of the reach of many heroes, even the highest level ones. However, you can have him take the same approach as many of the other all-powerful D&D villains, and have the party battle a manifestation or avatar of Szass Tam, especially if your party has consistently ruined his plans and treated him both with disrespect or a lack of fear or reverence. If this is the approach you wish, the Lich Statblock is more than enough to throw at your players, along with some strong undead like Shadows and Death Knights, in order to ensure that Tam doesn't get ganked in the first few rounds, since 5th edition's combat difficulty can get very swingy very fast. To accompany this, however, I included my own stat block for Szass Tam, including some of his artifacts and special abilities listed in some of his canon sources. I've included it in the description below, and with that, that's our coverage of Szass Tam, everybody. I want to thank all of you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, comment, and subscribe, and press the little bell icon to be notified of future videos. If you guys want a chance to vote on the content that comes out on the channel, please check out the community tab, and also follow us on social media such as Twitter, Instagram, Reddit, and the like. DMs, players, please let me know how you guys have used or encountered Szass Tam in any of your games, and also let me know what kind of things you guys would like to see in upcoming videos. But until then, I'll see you guys next time.